What's up guys, Lvladen here, and today I'm coming at you with the 9.1 Ret Paladin PvP guide. Let's get right into it. I don't want to waste too much time going over the talents because it is, it's pretty unchanged from the patch before, aside from a few rows. So Zeal remains about the same. If you want to take Zeal, it lets you proc your Blade of Wrath more, and Righteous Verdict is nerfed in PvP combat. Execution Sentence is nerfed in PvP combat. Righteous Verdict, I actually did give it a chance this patch, but it turns out it's still not worth it, even with the massive damage we're doing with our Templar's Verdict. The next row, Blade of Wrath, mandatory, take it 100% of the time, and never change out of this talent. The row after that, Fist of Justice, it depends, actually. Some comps you can play Blinding Light against. For example, in 2v2, if you're playing with a Holy Priest, you can get away with using Blinding Light in a kill window because it does not break on holy damage. Repentance is very hard to get off, especially when we're not running high haste, so I don't take this as much. Typically, I just standard pick Fist of Justice, and if I'm playing twos with the Holy Priest, Blinding Light. However, if you are going against a prop paladin in threes, I typically take Blinding Light, because a trick that you can do against prop paladins is the second that their Guardian of Ancient Queen procs, or they use the queen on a teammate, you can blind it, and it will immediately stop the channel, and then you can just go right through the bubble. The row after that, this is kind of up for debate. Unbreakable Spirit against most teams. If the team has physical damage, such as a Hunter, Feral Druid, Arms Warrior, Windwalker Monk, I would take Eye for an Eye. Against Ret Paladins and other classes like Death Knights, those types of melee, they don't deal too much physical damage. So Eye for an Eye doesn't always mitigate it as well as you would like. But it's up to you if you want to run it against them, because it does do decent amount of reflect damage. The row after that is a little up for debate now. I typically ran a Seraphim Final Reckoning last patch for almost 100% of the games I played. I was also playing with a Hunter. However, this patch, Divine Purpose, is a little more intriguing because we got nerfs to Healing Hands right here. So Divine Purpose allows for us to press Word of Glory a little bit more. It also can provide some nice RNG burst or even RNG consistent damage with how hard Templar's Verdict is hitting now. And then it also will let us stack up our Selfless Healer proc even faster. Now this patch, since Healing Hands was nerfed a little bit, now in PvP combat, it only increases Word of Glory's base healing like by up to 50% if someone's missing health. It's still okay, but I would take Selfless Healer. I went Selfless Healer day one and I never looked back. It is a really nice talent. You don't have to, you don't lose any damage when you're using Selfless Healer versus Word of Glory, so it's pretty decent. The highest Selfless Healer cast I got was a 24k flash heal crit on a teammate, so still really strong healing. After that, this row, unfortunately, for the third patch in a row, Final Reckoning gets nerfed. And by third patch, I mean it was nerfed initially going into 9.0, then it was nerfed in 9.0.5, and then it was nerfed again in 9.1. The Holy Power damage increase in PvP combat is actually only increased by 25% rather than 50%. So that was the last nail in the coffin for me. Unless I'm playing with a Hunter, I am pretty much always playing Sanctified Wrath. Sanctified Wrath functions really well with us being able to now take Virtuous Command in addition to, what's the other conduit called here? Templar's Vindication. We can get a nice quadruple hit with a Final Verdict, a Sanctified Wrath, a Virtuous Command, and a Vindication proc, all in one Templar's Verdict. So it does a lot of damage. In addition to that, your wings also last a little bit longer, so, there you go. It's nice. Now, on to the PvP talents. So these have actually changed quite a bit, and now, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your point of view, we don't really have a set standard, always build this PvP talent. Now, the new talents coming into 9.1 included, well, I'll say new, but also reworked, Lawbringer. It was buffed to 10% damage increase. However, it no longer procs on the primary target. Or Reckoning received slight nerfs. Judgment of the Pure is new. We now have a Poison, Disease, and Magic Dispel based on whoever you are judging. So for example, if a Shadow Priest is casting Vampiric Touch on everyone on your team, but you're judging the mage, his mage teammate, you're not going to dispel Vampiric Touch. I really do like Judgment of Peer. It's a good talent. Sometimes it feels a little weird because on spells you think it would dispel, it just doesn't. But overall, it is definitely worth running. Law and Order Unchanged. Jurisdiction is a little bit changed here. It now increases the range of your Blade of Justice and your Divine Storm by, well, Blade of Justice is 10-yard increase and Divine Storm is 4-yard increase. It's decent talent. I like taking it versus Mistweavers and Resto Druids. Divine Punisher, Unchanged, Ultimate Retribution, made worse. I'm not even going to go over that. Just like, you're never, ever, ever going to take Ultimate Retribution in competitive PvP. Maybe you could get away with it in a battleground, but I do not recommend taking this. Blessing of Sanctuary, same as before, also very situational and used quite frequently. Or Vengeance Aura got nerfed to only increase your critical strike up to 12%. No more holy damage increase, so I don't really take Vengeance Aura that often anymore. Unbound Freedom Unchanged, and Luminescence is new. Well, newly reworked. It now increases all damage and healing done by 4% for 6 seconds whenever you are healed, and that includes allies within your aura and yourself. So if you get healed, you also get this buff, but it does not trigger from your own healing, unfortunately. So a standard BG build that I would run, you know, it kind of depends now. If you're looking to have a bunch of utility, you can play something like Unbound Freedom, Jurisdiction, and Law and Order. And this will make it so you're hardly ever kited, especially in battlegrounds. However, you do lose Aura of Reckoning, which, to be honest, like, it's mini wings. It's still a lot of damage, even though it's nerfed. Stacks up a little bit slower. The melee strike hits a little less, but you're still guaranteeing that wings that you can just slap someone with at least one Templar's Verdict during, if not two. It does a lot of damage. But personally, I do have fun with this build right here. It's a very utility-style build. Unbound Freedom not being able to be dispelled, the increase, the super long range stun and slow, does feel nice. If you want to go for max damage in a battleground, my personal setup would be something like this right here. This is what I run in RBGs typically. I run War of Reckoning, Lawbringer, and Luminescence. And instead of Luminescence, if the enemy team has no Elemental Shamans or Unstable Affliction Warlocks, I'll run Judgment of Pure. In arenas, I sometimes actually do run this tree right here. Again, if there's no Elemental Shaman or Unstable Affliction lock, you can get away with Judgment of Pure, fairly safe talent, possibly Dispel Polymorph. If I'm going against something like a Rogue Mage, I will take this setup right here. I'll run Judgment of Pure and Blessing of Sanctuary, especially if it's a Fire Mage. Crit classes like Frost Decay, Elemental Shaman, and a Fire Mage stack your Aura of Reckoning really fast still. If it's not that style of a comp, say it's another mage spec, like maybe Arcane Mage, maybe I'll play Lawbringer, maybe I'll play Unbound Freedom, triple utility. Unfortunately, these games are really situational, so one of the best skills you're going to have to learn is learning what other classes do, so you can use your talents wisely. Depending on the teammates you're playing with as well, you might be able to get away with a more offensive setup where you could go Aura of Reckoning and, where is it here, Luminescence. And this also depends on, are you going to be swapping around or not, or are you going to be training a single target? Because if you're training a single target, it's probably not worth running a Lawbringer too often. Or, if you're going to be swapping around a lot, you can go ahead and play Lawbringer instead of Luminescence. But typically, I will run a setup that is like this into most comps. Melee cleaves, I'll play Lawbringer. Maybe it's a Death Knight Arms Warrior cleave. I start off with the Judgment on the Arms Warrior, and then I swap to the Death Knight, and then I'll be swapping back to the Warrior after Intervene Parry. That's when the Lawbringer is still useful. So yeah, I hope that is a little bit of advice. I can have a future video getting into more specific comps, what exactly I would run. Again, versus Resto Druids and Mistweavers, Jurisdiction is really nice, so maybe you want to drop out the Lawbringer for Jurisdiction and run this setup versus Resto Druid and Mistweaver Healers. Yeah, that's about it for the talents. Let's move on to the stats. Alright, so the stat priority for Ret is pretty much unchanged from last patch. It's still versatility, followed by mastery, followed by haste, and crit strike last. In terms of gems and enchants, if you do get gems early on, I would just go ahead and gem versatility. Enchant your gloves with 15 strength, your cloak with 20 stam, minor move speed, chest can be 30 primary stats. Am I missing out on anything? Yeah. Rings plus 16 versatility. I will be experimenting later on in this patch with a haste build, but that's when we're going to be full gear with sockets. So I'll let you guys know how that goes. Until then, the stat priority is remaining unchanged. I will update this in future if need be. In terms of your legendary, now a lot of people have asked me as of late, am I going to craft Divine Resonance, which is the new Kyrian legendary, and that is a no-go. They have nerfed it by 50% in terms of duration. They have nerfed Lawbringer interaction, so Lawbringer no longer applies to the main target. It's just not going to be that great anymore. So I'm actually super happy that I don't have to make it, because I hate Torghast. Torghast is awful. So yeah, you can stick with your final verdict. And on some matchups, you can run Reign of Endless Kings. However, at the moment, the game is so fast-paced that I don't even bother playing Reign of Endless Kings, even against Rogue Mage, because they just go right through it instantly. So I've been opting for more damage every single matchup. So yeah, first and only legendary you need in PvP at the moment is Final Verdict. If you do have extra Soul Ash or you do enjoy Torghast, go ahead and craft yourself a Reign of Endless Kings and mess around with it. You might like it, you might not. Alright, let's go over Conduits now. Now, I'm only going to be going over the Conduits for Kyrian. Unfortunately, I don't have a Necrolord Ret Paladin right now. If you are Necrolord Ret Paladin, the advice I have is going with that first Soulbind, Plague Divisor, and also running the legendary specific to Necrolord Ret Paladin. That's your best option. Now let's get into the Kyrian Conduit. So I start off with Templar's Vindication. This is pretty much unchanged all the time. I swapped my Endurance, my Royal Decree down here, because I'm not really willing to give up Vindication anymore, because the strike chance is so high, 45% chance. That's almost 50-50 chance right there for my Final Verdict to hit twice for an additional 30% damage. Following that, I have Shielding Words right here. Now, a lot of people have said, it's not worth running Shielding Words anymore. You should run Condensed Anima Sphere. But the thing that they are forgetting is that Shielding Words is going to work on your teammates as well. Shielding Words, I play particularly with a Windwalker Monk, and actually, a lot of the time, I'm not the kill target. So running Shielding Words helps me keep my Monk up. In addition to that, you can take Condensed Anima Sphere anyway, down in this Conduit slot right here. I have my Royal Decree here, but I literally never swap into it anymore. So whenever I regen enough Conduit energy to feel safe in experimenting again, and yes, I only have 2 Conduit energy because I've been experimenting with everything since the patch came out. I will change it out. Right here is where I keep my Ring and Clarity, because I never swap out of Ring and Clarity. Right now I got a 200 item level Ring and Clarity. Feels bad, man. It's fairly low considering a bunch are 226, 213. After that, I take Echoing Blessings right here, 226 Echoing Blessings. This gives you an additional 8% damage mitigation on your sacrifice, which is really good. Think about like giving your teammates a 38% wall, pretty strong, and then the 8% movement speed bonus from Echoing Blessings will scale up over time as we get a higher conduit and eventually become noticeable as well. After that, the next best potency slot we have down here is Virtuous Command. Now, Virtuous Command actually is pretty good. If you're decent at managing your judges while being in melee range, you can guarantee an additional 11.2% or more, if you have a higher conduit damage from your Templar's Verdict. And this one always procs off Judge. And they got rid of the bug where your Divine Toll cannot overwrite your prior judgment. So, for example, I judge, I wait 3 seconds, and then I press my Divine Toll. Divine Toll will actually refresh the Virtuous Command buff instead of just letting it expire, and then we go into our burst rotation with no Virtuous Command at all. After that, the path is actually interesting. I thought Path of Devoted was going to be mandatory best in slot, but I didn't really check out the Better Together, and it gives you 40 mastery for 1 minute. And it gives it to your teammate as well. So since I play with the monk, mastery is like their best damage stat. This is not that bad of an option. And then since I'm losing the defensive bonus from Path of the Devoted right here, I'm gonna go over my words. I'm gonna snag a condensed Animosphere and put it down in this endurance slot next week when I get my my renown up, and then we'll finish it off with newfound resolve. But if you don't want to run Better Together, this is also a decent defensive option, and it can mitigate the Naya. I think it's the Naya Soulbind Tree. It might not be the Naya Soulbind Tree, but one of the Night Fae abilities is coming out of CC, you're slowed by 90% for 2 seconds. This can mitigate that. So if you see a Fire Mage, you're likely running this. So against Fire Mage, Path of the Devoted is really good. And if I had to put a Finesse Conduit slot right here, I toss in a Light Barding. That's probably our next best Finesse slot right here. Alright, if people were curious, my thoughts on this last trait, Effuse Anima Accelerator right here, I don't think I'm going to run it. The mastery bonus from Pelagos is too strong to give up, even though it's nerfed in PvP combat. It lasts a very long time. That's a very long time now. And I did experiment on the PTR with this. The damage dot it does is okay, but in my opinion, it's not worth giving up Pelagos right here. And we have the best Conduit pass as well. So we get triple potency along with either double endurance slots or double finesse slots, depending on our mood. It's pretty nice. Alright, that's about it for Conduits for Curians. We can get into the macros now. I'm going to go ahead and leave all my macros in the description of the video in case you guys want to copy paste. However, you don't have to play the way I do. You can use party 1 and 2 macros. You can use mouseover macros, but I always recommend having targeting macros for your teammate and your healer in 3s and in 2s. In RPGs, it's different. You can use mouseover, it's fine. But let's get right into it. So I have DPS Word of Glory macros. I have healer Word of Glory macros, and what these do is, see these names in the macro, I just put the healer's name in the macro and boom, it's going to Word of Glory him. I have 3 Word of Glory keybinds. I have one that is myself or mouseover, I have one for my DPS, and I have one for my healer. And then that same format I have with my flash heal. So I have a healer flash of light macro right here, I have a DPS flash of light macro right here, and then I have a mouseover flash of light. What else do I have here that's important? My burst macro, it just has a saltwater potion if I'm in battlegrounds. It has my badge of ferocity if I'm running it. I don't typically run badge of ferocity anymore though. I run either emblem or shackles, new trinkets from last season and this season. I have that same format for the Word of Glory for my bop, my freedom, my sanctuary, and my sacrifice. Again, leaving all these in the description below. You will need to change or delete the names that I have for my teammates and put your teammate's name in, or there are other guides on the internet for setting up party 1 and 2 macros. The reason I don't do those in particular is because some people I play with, they like the healer DPS in a certain order, so then you have to change the leader to get the party 1 and 2 lined up correctly. I like always having, like, for example, this button right here on my mouse, I like this to always be my healer Word of Glory, and then the top one right here to always be the DPS Word of Glory. That's how I play. What else do we have? We have Cancelaura for Blessing of Freedom, Blessing of Protection. This is good against mages, especially if you are not running Unbound Freedom. They can't spell steal it. I have my Final Reckoning, which also casts my Badge of Ferocity. This is a, I'll give an example real quick. I need a Final Reckoning. This just instant cast it wherever my mouse is located. So boom, right there. You don't have to use the green targeting circle. What else am I forgetting? My shift modifier focus macros for my Rebuke, and I have one for my Hammer of Justice. This just lets me, I'll put this guy in focus right here. So this is my focus target. I'm going to drop the target. I'm going to hold down shift and I'm going to press my stun, and it's going to go on him, even though I don't have him targeted. That is how a shift modifier focus macro works. And for example, if I, I didn't have him in my focus frame, and or say I kept him in my focus frame, I was targeting this guy, and I pressed Hodge with no shift, then it would stun this main target right here. And Hodge is Hammer of Justice. I've had people confused about that in the past, so my bad. That's about it for macros. I do have these macros up here to change the appearance of my abilities. For example, my Wake of Ashes is the old Holy Wrath. My Shield of Vengeance is the old Sacred Shield. My Hand of Hindrance is actually the old Seal of Justice. Oh, just some interesting things. Same with Blade of Justice being the Exorcism icon. It doesn't actually change the animation of the ability. It just makes me happy. That's what it does. All right. Now, in conclusion, that's about it for the basics of the PvP guide for the Ret. I'll have videos coming out in the future on add-ons and comps in particular. For me right now, personally, I'm running Ret Survival Hunter, Ret Windwalker in 2s, a bit of Prot, and then in 3s, I'm playing triple DPS, or I'm playing Ret Prot Windwalker, Ret Prot Survival Hunter. I enjoy these like weird off-meta comps, especially triple DPS. Triple DPS is so fun right now. I will be coming out with a Prot guide in the future. So, yeah, that's next up on the guys list. Alright guys, if you have any further questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Lvladen_PvP. If you enjoyed this video, you can support me. The links are in the description, and I'll see you all next video. Peace.